her computer. She pauses for a brief second, looking outside at the night sky, and then writes, "With a gun in the street. $12,000 is fine. Just do it ASAP." Whoever's on the other side of that message writes, "For $4,000 we'll throw acid in her face, and for $50,000 we'll torture her to death." The woman shakes her head. "No, just kill her." That's based on a true story, and the person this woman was talking about could have been you. Today you'll hear about hitmen, drug traffickers, killers, even cannibals, who've all at some point been caught up in the darkest part of the internet. You'll hear why this is not a place you should go to, and we'll give you many reasons why. First of all, you should know where you're going when you visit the dark web. In short, it's hidden within something called the deep web. The deep web is just the part of the internet not accessible by your standard search engines, and that makes up most of the net. The dark web accounts for only about 0.01% of the deep web. To get there, you'll have to download certain software on your computer, such as the Tor browser. This should give you anonymity.
Switch to Verizon for just $25 a line, guaranteed for 3 years. The savings that last on the network you want. Verizon.
Although, as you'll see today, it's not always the case. Tor was invented by the US government to create anonymous communications, and today you'll find journalists and activists using it, as more open communication could find them in a spot of trouble. WikiLeaks, for instance, is part of the dark web, although it publishes on the open web. With this in mind, it's not illegal to download some software and start using the dark web. It's what you do with all that anonymity that counts, which is what you're going to hear about in this rather dark show today. Let's also remember that you might just be a curious sort of person who just wants to have a look around the dark web. But by doing this, there's always the chance that you might walk down the wrong virtual alleyway and find yourself in a place you wish you'd never gone. You might also be a marked man after this, or worse. Before we talk about the really creepy stuff on the dark web, we should first talk about drugs, the illegal kind. Some of you might have met a person who told you they ordered the purest drugs they've ever had on the dark web, and it was delivered to their door without a problem. Wow, how convenient. But listen on before you put your order in for a sheet of colorful acid tabs and 2 dozen ecstasy pills that look like little Lego bricks. You can indeed do this, and many people have, with one former big fan of the dark web drug business calling the place Amazon, run by the cartels. He explained that just about any illegal drug you could think of was there on offer, including precursors. You fans of Breaking Bad will know that these are the substances you need to make certain drugs, such as crystal meth. And believe it or not, the sites selling the drugs are often pretty reliable, since there is a place to give feedback to the seller. So you might find a comment that says "Grade A Coke" and delivered on time, top seller. A few years back, there was a seller with the name of Jesus of Rave. On his site, he stated, in a quite professional way, "Working with UK distributors, importers, and producers to source quality, we run a tight ship and aim to get your order out the same or next day. This tight ship also refers to our attitude to you and your privacy. We've been doing this for a long time." It seems that ordering drugs on the dark web in Britain really took off a few years ago. There are also lots of recent news reports stating that seizures of ecstasy and amphetamines in the post has increased dramatically, with the drugs mostly coming from the Netherlands after being ordered on the dark web. The Guardian wrote this in 2019. Criminal organizations in the Netherlands are major producers and exporters of synthetic drugs, exported via sea containers or trucks. But there is said to have been a growth in online purchases in which the postal services are exploited. The US, Australia, and New Zealand are the main recipients outside of Europe. The same article said that a sting operation led police to a massive 300 kilograms of drugs and 51 firearms. That same year, a dark web website called the Wall Street Market, WSM, was shut down in Germany and arrests were made. The owners were making big bucks selling heroin, cocaine, weed, and speed, as well as malicious software, counterfeit documents, and stolen data. It worked in 6 languages: English, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish. At the time, prosecutors wrote, WSM operated like a conventional e-commerce website, such as eBay or Amazon. However, its sole existence was geared to the trafficking of contraband. As you probably know, the money to be made selling drugs is just so good that arresting dealers or traffickers is like playing a game of whack-a-mole. You put one in prison and another pops up. The war on drugs has been nothing but a failure for the most part, with the authorities looking like Sisyphus, the guy who was told he had to push a round rock up a hill for all eternity. This means 2 things. One thing is that you can be assured that despite these arrests, you can still go on the dark web right now and order pretty much any drug you want. But it also means that you can be assured that some men with badges will be trying to put you in prison for it. This is why it's dangerous. You might think you can get away with it, seeing as you have anonymity, but you actually don't. The FBI and other law enforcement entities are all over the dark web. This is the problem with the dark web. You can get eaten by spiders. When people think they have impunity, they can get careless. That's what happened recently when 150 people were arrested in an operation called Dark Hunter. Law enforcement from Europe, the US, and Australia were involved, and about $25 million worth of drugs were taken. In this case, no small-time buyers were arrested, just the sellers, but cops warned about something else. Many of the drugs these days contain the killer substance fentanyl. This stuff works well in hospitals for pain relief and might sound good to a hardcore opiate addict, but the truth is there have been a startling number of news reports, including ones involving famous people, of folks thinking they're taking a drug like cocaine and dying because the white powder also had fentanyl in it. As we write this, 5 people died all at once of an accidental overdose in the US when they didn't know that their powder contained the drug. But doing a quick search, we could have chosen numerous stories that included the words accidental fentanyl overdose. We don't condone drug use here, but if a person is intent on taking drugs, then the safest thing would be to know what you are taking. When you order from the dark web, you really don't know what you're getting. And since everything is anonymous, the seller might not care too much about what they're giving you. Even if you die, there is very little chance that they'll ever be arrested. We found a story containing the words fentanyl-laced ecstasy tablets. Rave to the grave might be the suitable expression here. Unfortunately, while it could save tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of lives, the authorities for the most part have always been dead set against providing folks with easily available drug testing equipment. On top of this, sometimes the buyers do get arrested. There was a story in 2020 that stated 179 people were arrested in a massive bust involving multiple drugs and guns, and some of those arrested were buyers. Most were in the US, others in the UK, Germany, and Sweden, the Netherlands, and Austria. At the time, the authorities claimed that the golden age of the dark web marketplace is over. But they've been claiming to be winning the war on drugs since people watched black and white television. Nonetheless, Europol had a warning for prospective buyers and sellers saying the hidden internet is no longer hidden, and your anonymous activity is not anonymous. Law enforcement is committed to tracking down criminals no matter where they operate, be it on the streets or behind a computer screen. They've even been arresting small-time dealers, as can be seen in one story involving a Florida man. Using the name Candy Man, his line of work was mostly the distribution.
Impact, starring Experience Credit Card Marketplace.
Sweet credit cards.
You too can get a choice of cards matched to you. Matched to you.
Cashback, travel rewards, balance transfer, tons of options.
Tons of options. Credit card choices.